Adding behavior to your website. This is the first tutorial that will deal with adding interaction and behavior to our web pages. That means when we hover over something or how we interact with something will have a different effect on what happens on the page itself. So the very first thing we're going to look at is a hover button, which means you quite often see them in menus where you move your cursor across the menu and the button below you will change depending on whether you're over it, whether you're off it, or whether you click on it. Okay, so we're going to add a very simple little bit of behavior that will change a button or an icon or something on your screen. Then we're going to add a very simple little interactive button as well. Very, very simple ones to do. So we'll start off by adding a little bit of behavior to a button. An example of this would be when you roll over. It's called a rollover image or a mouse over image. So when you move your cursor over an image such as this bucket of paint, when you move it over it actually it does this. It changes the image. In our case it becomes full color, or when you mouse off it, it goes back to the way it was. Okay, we're going to do this with the same with the DIT logo. Okay, so what we're going to do is the same idea here. So I'm going to open up Expression and blank page on here. I'm going to first of all add a faded version of the image, which is TUD fade, which is this one here. Okay. So I'm just going to add that image. I'm going to say TU. Put it in the center so we can all see what's going on. Okay, so that's the first thing we've done. That's just adding an image the same way as we've done beforehand. Now I'm going to add a little bit of behavior to it. Now what I want to happen is when I move over my TU Dublin image, it will alter the image in some way. Okay, so what I have is a full color version of this image. So very simply, all it's going to do is replace it with the full color version of it. So in order to do this, I'm going to introduce behavior to my website. Okay, so I'm going to go up here and go to panels and make sure that I have my behavior panel shown, which I don't. Okay, all the ones that are shown all appear on the right hand side over here, and they all have to tick on. So I'm going to click on behavior, and you'll see the behavior tab appears right down here to the bottom right hand corner. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my image, saying I'm going to add behavior to this image, and I'm going to just go insert, and you can see a number of different behavioral attributes that I can add. So in other words, when I mouse over it or when I click on it, it'll play a sound or open up a browser window, or a pop-up message will occur. It'll swap the image. There's loads of different things we can do here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just very simply swap the image. So in other words, when I mouse over this, it will swap the image. Okay, so what image do I want to swap it to? Now be careful with this. If I'm going to change the image from being a small image to a large image, all the content below this image on my page will move down and jump up and jump down. It becomes quite ugly looking, really. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to replace it with an image the same size. So, and very similar image, but a full color version of it. Now there's not huge color in this, but you can see here, I'm going to replace this one here with this one here. Okay, which is, this is a faded version of this one. So I'm just going to add this and click OK. Now there's two options below here. Preload image, which means that as soon as the page loads up, it will load both images, regardless of which one is shown first. It will load both of them. So therefore, there's no delay in showing the second image when I mouse over the first one. And then the second one here is restore on mouse out event. In other words, do you want your image to go back to the original image when you move your cursor off it, your mouse off the image? If you do, you simply click on that. If you don't and you want it just to move over and reveal something, and for it to stay revealed, well then you don't need to click this restore button. You might do that if you had a quiz and you might say, you know, what's the capital of France? And then when you move your cursor over that particular image, it will reveal that it's Paris, and it will stay revealed after you move your cursor off it. Okay, so in my case, I wanted to go back to my original image, so I'm going to tick restore here. Okay, now again, over here on the right hand side, on mouse out, on mouse over. So you can see they're the two events that are happening here. On mouse over means when my cursor moves over the image, and a mouse out means when I move off it. So what it will do here, it will show me a certain image when I move over, and it will bring me back to my original image when I move off. Okay, so that's it done. I'm going to test it now by saving it and previewing it in my browser. Okay, and as I said, look, the faded image appears automatically. When I move my cursor over it, it will show me the full color image, and when I move my cursor off it, it will bring me back to my original image. This is very, very common in a menu. When you move your cursor or your mouse along the menu, it will reveal different things or show you different little bits of color. It brings a little bit of interactivity to the whole thing. Okay, so that's the first one. I'm going to save that as tutorial 12, and it's going to be available on the website if anybody wants to look at that. Okay. The second tutorial I'm going to show you, which is it's a combination of a couple of different things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a very simple menu. As you can see here, I've already got a little Acme Construction title up on top, and a little bit of LinkedIn, and a little bit of Facebook on one side, and Pinterest and Instagram on the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a menu to this. Okay, I'm just going to let everyone know this is my home page to start off. I'm just going to write down home there, but I'm going to add a menu below here. You can see here I've already got 5 different cells available to put things in. Now what I can do is I can type in home, products, services, about us, and contact us, and put a link to the different pages. Okay, I could do that if I want to. Okay, what I'm actually going to do this time is I'm going to insert, and I'm going to use interactive buttons here. Okay, and the interactive buttons will, it's just a little bit more interactivity than plain text will allow us. Okay, so I'm going to put in an interactive button down here below this. Okay, so there's a load of different options available to us. If I move down through them, you can go down through them and see what tickles your fancy, so to speak. Okay, so there are, there's definitely hundreds of them here anyway. So I'm just going to go down through these and choose a button that I think might fit my team and so on. Okay, so I'm going down through it here, and you can see lots of different ones here, and you'll see what I'm going to do with them next once I choose a button that I like or I want to work with. Okay, so now all of these buttons will have different attributes. In other words, they will have 3 different views. One is a view when there's no mouse near it. Second one is a view when you move your cursor over it. And the third one is when you click on it. Now, there isn't much of a change with that one there, but if you can see with other ones there, there's slightly differences when you move over them, when you click on them, and so on. So these are interactive buttons. And while Expression allows us a good few to choose from, you'll see lots more online that allow you to do exactly the same thing and allow you to play around with these. And I'll show you pop-down menus in a later tutorial, and we can then figure out what we want to do with them. So I'm just going to pick one of these. It doesn't really make any difference which one it is. I'll just pick this one here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is you can change the button text. So I'm just going to put in home for the first one. And as I said to you before, all of our home pages are going to be called index.htm or HTML. Okay, so Expression normally saves our pages as a HTML, so I'm going to call mine index.html. Okay, I'm going to save it into my folder in a second. So that's my home page. That's going to be the link to my home page. Okay, so if I want to change the font, I can do so here. If I want to change the size or whatever, I can change the color of the hover buttons and so on. So I can customize what's there. All right, and I can play around with whether I want them saved as JPEGs and different things. It's a very simple process. We can play around with it to make it more complex if we want to, and change the font to try and associate with what we're using on our screen and so on. But I'm just going to keep it as is for the moment. Okay. So my first button is going to say home. When I click on the button, it will bring me to a page called index.htm. Okay. So that's my first button. I'm going to be quite lazy about this, and what I'm going to do is copy and paste. Right. Okay. So I'm going to copy and paste my buttons there. And obviously, I don't want them all called home. So I'm going to go to the second button here. Just double click on it. My second one is going to be called products. Verbally spell it right. Products. And I'm going to call this one products.htm. Okay, third one is going to be called services. I'm going to bring me to services.htm. Port 1 called about us. In my file name, I'm going to leave it without the space in it. Okay, about us. And then the final one will be contact us. And again, I'm going to leave it without the space in it with contact us. And go OK. Now, what I'm going to do with all 5 of these is center them. This is apart. All right. Now you can play around with different menus in different ways and so on. Okay. So I'm going to save this page. File, save as. I'm going to save it as index. Then I'm going to. It saves all my images along with it. Then I'm going to save it again. The second one as products. All I'm doing is I've created my menu, I've created my header. I'm saving the page as products. Then I'm going to save the next one as services. The reason I'm doing this is because in most cases we're going to spend a good bit of time creating our home page. And most of our other pages are going to have huge similarities between our home page and all the rest. There's going to be probably the same header, probably the same footer, maybe the same navigational bar, maybe the same sidebar, and then there'll be certain sections of the page which will be different. So what we can do is, instead of recreating the page several times, all we can do is create the page once, put time and effort into our home page, and then copy and paste and change what needs to be changed from page to page. Okay, so services is the next one. Then the next one's going to be about us. And finally, we have contact us. If this is contact us. Now I'm just going to save this, preview it, and we can see now home will bring us to the home page. You can see down here, product will bring us to products, services to services, about us to about us, and contact us to contact us. So that's simply us creating a very simple interactive menu, but how you do it, you don't have to, I'm after creating 5 buttons as opposed to 5 buttons on 5 pages, which is 25 buttons. So it saves us an awful lot of hassle when we create our home page, put time and effort into it, make it look nice, and then from there, save our page as a different name. So